Welcome to tonight's virtual gratitude. I am deeply appreciative of you being here, and I don't want to keep you for too long. So, we are going to use our compass. I've already lit my candle. I have a sharpener, a pencil. Where did I put that? Right here. I have another compass that's taller with longer legs to go a little bit wider. I have my watercolor palette, my little one, some water, and my tea is on the way. And I also have a outlining pen, a black fine liner. This one is the Unipin fine liner, but you can use any marker that's black that has a fine tip. Now, like you saw in the little sneak peek videos, we often think that we are flawed, that we have too many mistakes and too many things are going wrong. But if you take that line, that radial line there from the A, and you use that to start drawing the flower of life, so much will open up for you. Now, please go and watch that video before you watch this one, just so you have a little bit of background on how to go from thinking you are flawed to stepping into the flow. I'm not going to repeat that in this video. So, everything in creation started from a basic shape. And if we can go a little bit more technical, it started from the platonic solids. So those are the geometric constructs that come together to form the elements. Depending on what point of view you take on this, whether spiritual or scientific, I'd like to think of it as the two are not separate from each other. But I also don't want to go too deep into what the mainstream says spirit is and what science is. And instead, I am on a mission to find my own answers, to become a master of self instead of listening to others. And your self mastery journey through creative practices, through mindfulness, can lead to amazing places. Because from that center point, with a radial going all around you, you need to know that from your vantage point and your perspective, the world looks completely different than it does from another person's perspective. And you'll see today or tonight in the flower of life, every time you put a point down, you could think of that as someone's point of view, or you can think of it as you expanding your consciousness, expanding your point of view. And once you've expanded your point of view, you can see how things are really connected. Nothing is separate. We are not separate from science. We are not separate from spirit. We are not separate from our bodies. Your body is the temple that holds the spirit. And so often I've heard spiritual leaders talk about, oh, I'm not caring about the body. I don't worry about the body. The body will stay behind. And yes, the body does stay behind when we leave this earthly plane one day. But it is still the vehicle that carries your spirit and your soul through this life. And we have to take care of it. We have to take care of how flexible we are, how connected we are to ourselves, to our deeper inner desires. And I'm not talking about earthly possessions. I'm talking about a desire to be happy, to be joyful, to be more than you were yesterday. And you've heard me say this many times. You are never in competition with anyone else but yourself. And If you are trying to compete with some other random person or even one of your friends or family members, then you are on a destructive path. But when you're only thinking of where you were and where you're heading, and bringing that into the present moment where you can physically do something about it, then you are on your path. And you're always on your path. Your path leads to many journeys, though, and those journeys are taken with gratitude. And that's why we have monthly gratitude. So let's get to the actual drawing and coloring part of tonight's session and show you how beautiful life can really be once you connect all the dots and lines in the present moment. All right, I'll see you on the page. While we take a moment to remember to drink water, to set our intentions for tonight's session, have a look at the beautiful crystals that formed from Dr. Emoto's experiments. I've already drawn the flower of life on my sketchbook, but I want to show you a few things before we actually start discovering our first pattern. Oh, here comes my coffee. Thank you. All right, let me show you some of the ideas from sketchbooks I've done already. And let's start with this one. So this grid pattern is just lines that are equally spaced, but this one I spaced them with circles, and each of those circles became that pattern. And earlier this week I combined the two and came up with a new repeat pattern like that. There are some secrets in there that's not related to this class or this lesson, so I'll just skip them there. That doesn't want to stick, but anyway. So here again, very simplified circular patterns with that interlacing sectioning there, but this time not 6 but 4, and then a little medallion in the middle to connect them all. And that repeat pattern just repeats in the background of this little floral scene I did of Husky. This was Little Red Riding Hood, who was hallucinating about the wolf, and she picked apples and look, can you see the apples? She picked apples and roses for her granny and went off for a lovely visit. Now I can just imagine how everybody would react if I took the wolf out of the story, but this is my story. So in my sketchbooks I can create the story the way I want. So here is the wolf or fox, and she is now part of that hallucination where you can see she's got dreamy eyes and with the repeat little patterns in the background. Now these were from stencils and I just pushed them through with a dry brush. Then here, these patterns are not only the color of the henna tattoos or the Mehndi wedding ceremony designs that the Indians put on their hands. Now, I had a client who regularly invited me to their family events and did some Mehndi for me as well. And it's lovely to just sit there and be pampered. It takes about 45 minutes to dry, and then they tape it all up and you sleep with it, and tomorrow morning when you take everything off, your hands are imprinted with this temporary tattoo-like design that is so unique, so exquisite, and just feels like creative expression, like the beginning of new life. Here I used circles and basic circular patterns. This was 2 interlacing circles that gave me that plan and idea. Some were done with the raw sienna and the lime green. It makes it really pop and be creative. This I did with the greens, but it's a really nice complementary idea to add to your sketchbooks. And it doesn't have to be full pages, or it doesn't have to be the whole background. It can be a little medallion or a corner to remind you of the event. Maybe bring some concepts together or ideas together, and yes, make something pretty. You could even do it on a strip of paper like this and then stick it in your journal as a border. Now we're doing some interesting things with this in our Briar class. I'll show you that next. So we've discovered that medallion pattern on the inside, and each of these medallions can become a repeat pattern. Here I've done another version of it, and here I've just let my imagination go and came up with this little star pattern. Now that can repeat like a half drop, right? Or it can repeat as a straight repeat like that, and then that tiling pattern brings about a new pattern on its own as those 4 coincide. So I'm still busy painting this, and these little ones are going to become something beautiful for the group. Not going to spill the beans just yet. They will find out next week, Tuesday. And then I was also busy with a project for someone else. As you can see, it's still in becoming phases. This was just a little strip cut off from some of the circles that interlinked, and I used the same colors for that and just continued on with my imagination. Then, let me show you this. So that very same pattern can literally become anything. It's only limited by your own imagination. And in class, I explained it like this. If you have an idea in your head, it's like a baby that's been seen through a sonograph, right? And you know it's there, but you cannot quite make out the exact outlines. What is the outlines? And that's where the structure comes in. The structure forms the framework. The framework becomes the structural lines. And as soon as we start adding color, our idea comes to life and is alive. It is a final product. And it's all those interlocking circles. All of them are that interlocking circles. These are separate ones. This also started from that circle pattern, and you can clearly see how that circle would have been there and there and there and there, every time jumping over one of those flowers. Can you see it? Right? So whatever you come up with will be beautiful in the end. It's just a matter of sitting down and creating the thing you want to envision by making the pattern come alive, by either using one shape. This is very intricate, like a arts and crafts pattern. That is more like filigree, that's also filigree with a geometric pattern in the background. Anything is possible. And when you have that single medallion, it can rotate around your circle like that, or it can be stretched out into a long border design. It's still only that one medallion that is repeated across a line or around a circle. It can be very simple, like just plain flowers. It can be geometric. It can be just simple lines that are spaced evenly, or you can come up with something completely new. Now I took our flower of life drawing here and redrew it on watercolor paper, and then found one medallion. That is a medallion. Now you can use that one on its own. You can complete the circle and have that as a singular motive. So let's say, for instance, let's see if we can fit it in here. Yeah, we'll be able to fit it in here. So if we were to do that, I'm gonna just retake these measurements. Going back to that little circle there, finding my center point. Right, then oops, I think that should do it for now. But now you'll see the other shapes and circles are missing, but I'm just going to freehand this one so you can see where I got my idea. So let's say the other circle came in like that. I took the liberty of, so this is going to be there, that's going to be there, right? Then these are going to be in here. 2, 3, 2, 3. That is going to be in there. This is going to be on the side. So that came in from there. Oh, that needs to be in the middle. But you are getting the picture, right? So that could be one design on its own. Let's pretend like that's what we're going to do. And those can come in like that, meeting at that center. Those patterns are gonna connect in there. You could even add an additional diamond there. You can add more flower elements in there. And all of the things you did here, you can repeat in that one. So I want you to go ahead and draw the flower of life. Find a little pattern that you like, that you enjoy, and repeat it around your circle. Then maybe create a medallion and a final circle of joy, and then also repeat some aspect of that pattern on a horizontal line, so you have a repeat. So we can make a little small version of that here and see how that could possibly work. Let's just make that larger outer circle again. Oh, not smaller, larger. So let's say the larger circle repeats every second one. So we can have a larger circle there. Oh, that's going to repeat there. And one is going to repeat there. Well, you get the picture. Then from there you can have your design like that. We can still have our 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. We can have this on the straight line. Then we can have that. And all of those can come together in a little triangle. This is a very rough outline of that type of thing there. Oh, that could be 2. There we go. So you can just imagine repeating that endlessly and then having this in here as a separate division. So this will repeat there and there and there and there and there and there. So you can have that repeat on that straight line without any problems. That would be inner circle. Oh, I went up too high. That would be there. But you get what I'm saying. It's at one area. All right. Now please go ahead and try yours. I'm going to continue with my pattern there and see if I can find it again. Oh, I didn't use that pen, I used this one. So always keep your finger where you are busy working so you can orientate yourself. And that pattern is in this circle. It crosses there. And that comes over. Now you can darken your lines a little bit more later. And also add in more details. So, and that goes there. Again, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. The circle goes around. Crosses that center and goes to the middle. Has a pattern there, and that goes to the next one. See how that is coming together again. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. And you know what? That counting and focus on this geometric pattern has made you forget about all the troubles you've had this month. Now, I'm sorry if me just saying that brought up some new feelings about the things you've been through this month. But it just goes to show how quickly we can forget about the problems and get into a different state of mind. Now, I briefly mentioned that we could call this the circle of joy. And as you create your own circle of joy, you will definitely feel a whole lot happier when you just let go and let the process happen. In the beginning, you are going to make mistakes, and that is all right. Nobody is perfect, and no design is perfect. Even looking at my own design here, I can see many, many flaws. But the fact that I showed up to my sketchbook today, that I showed up to do a little creative practice, is already a plus point in my book. And I know that I'm going to feel so much better once I've completed this and colored it in and had some time to think about the things that was or still are going on, but that I've had some space, a mental break from all of it. And you can always come back and add more things or remove a few things that you didn't like, and that's why we start with pencil. Let's add a little embellishment there and there. That means we can also add it there. See, I went out with those, but in with these. This is what I mean. I went out with the other one and in with the other one. In, and out. And out. Okay, so if you want to get rid of some of these lines, now is a good time to do that. And I'm just going to sit back without talking and fill in my colors. I'll do more outlines afterwards and fill in more details once all the colors are done. I don't want these to be too colorful or too vibrant or too bright or too anything. Just a relaxing session where I can envision joy. Did I mention I was thinking of using the same colors as I did there? Oh, okay, that was on the outside. dry enough. Oh, still not really dry enough. But for the sake of tonight's video, we are going to pretend that it is. Whether you enjoy the drawing, the discovery of the pattern, the outlining, or the painting process, all of it is part of that creative, conscious, mindful practices that helps you to see the connections in all the things you've done and to also decorate your sketchbooks with beautiful things. How beautiful this month's virtual gratitude was. Thank you for being here. And remember to always be grateful and live in gratitude for the things we have, the life we are in, and all those connections that come together to show you how complete life really is. And you know, if you're struggling to accept the reality you are living in, it's time to make a new choice. Find a new direction. Draw a new circle around yourself and create new connections. It's beautiful when things come together, but it's chaotic when it doesn't. And depending on what you need in your life at this moment, remember it's not going to be perfect, just like the flowers as they come out of their cocoon to blossom and show us their petals. So too, we also need to come out and show our petals, show our beauty, so that the world can take from that what it needs. The only thing you have to do is show up and give. What they take is up to them, but that giving and showing up, shining your light, and being yourself, being authentically yourself, is the most important part. And along the way, you are learning to accept your gifts, to grow and develop the ones you don't have yet, and figure out how to be your best self in your sketchbooks, in your daily practices, in the life that surrounds you, and in the stories you tell. Everything comes together as you bring life to those blank pages, create mindful practices during all of your sessions, and making time for yourself. Really accepting who you are, where you are at this current stage, and then bringing your ideas to life, living from the heart through the means of creativity, where you can literally transform every aspect of your life. Finding compassion not only for yourself, but even for those dragons who are part of your life. I'm really grateful and honored to have a community like you. And as small as we are, that also gives me great pleasure, knowing that there's more space available for those who want to enter into this wonderful, creative, mindful practices we do all the time. Thank you for being here, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video.